We're halfway through round one of the NHL playoffs, and it's gotten completely out of hand already. We got bench clearing brawls with guys literally fighting on the bench. There's been insane last-minute comebacks, controversial hits, suspensions, officiating, and so much more. We cover it all in today's episode, but before we get into the madness, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one website builder designed to help you stand out online and grow your business. Whether you're launching something new or expanding your presence, it provides everything you need, from claiming your domain to creating a sleek professional site and managing it all from one platform. I mentioned in my last video how I'm building a platform hopefully ready for the offseason where we can provide players with video coaching and specific breakdown footage to help them improve their game. Their AI builder helped me hit the ground running, as well as it gave me a beautiful template for me to build off of moving forward. And I know a lot of coaches watch these videos, so if you're selling anything like your lessons or expertise, the setup is smooth and all in one place. Whether you're dealing with payments, shipping, inventory, all of it is super clean and intuitive. So head over to squarespace.com/hockeypsychology to get 10% off your first purchase of your website or domain, and use that code hockeypsychology at checkout to make sure you get that 10% off. Let's kick her off with the Jets and Blues. A little bit of a hiccup in Game 3 for the President Trophy champs. Surely, it was just a glitch in the Matrix, right? I mean, this Jets team is different. Hellebuck's in MVP form, 5-on-5 play, they're sick, and their power play is among the best in the league. Well, Blues coach Jim Montgomery wanted two things out of his group in Games 3 and 4 in St. Louis, and that was to get to the blue paint better and sustain way more offensive zone time. This isn't a secret. We've covered it before the playoffs started, but Connor Hellebuyck has notoriously struggled when there's traffic and he's got to locate pucks. His advanced numbers on Sport Contract reflect this also, and judging by Montgomery's comments, the Blues want to get right in Hellebuck's kitchen and make him hate his life. So even though they're down by 1 to start this Game 4, the Blues keep it simple and get bodies in front. On goal number 1, there's not one, but 2 Blues right in the vision of Hellebuyck. He can't see it and it finds its way into the net. On to the second, the Blues win the battle down low. They go low to high, and look at Sundqvist. Little flyby, just enough to get Hellebuyck in that relaxed stance and to try and get him to look over the traffic, and she's in the back of the net before he even knows it. Early on in this game, they make Hellebuyck uncomfortable, and he just never settles in. The Blues score 5 unanswered goals, and for the second game in a row, Connor Hellebuyck is pulled. It feels like Groundhog Day for Jets fans as they lose Game 4 decisively by a score of 5-1. Hellebuyck has got some demons to shake. He is undoubtedly an MVP candidate, but the numbers don't lie. Come playoff time, Hellebuyck has not been the same goalie. He's let in 11 goals on 43 shots over the last 2 games. That is just not good enough. But on the same note, St. Louis is executing their game plan perfectly. They're defending well, they're making life hard on Hellebuyck, and they've settled into their game that favors quality over quantity chances. This is a brand new series, and the Jets got to look themselves in the mirror and reset, or else St. Louis will just keep rolling. Now it's time to check in on the Round 1 Stanley Cup Final, which is Dallas versus Colorado. Despite the Stars missing arguably 2 of their best players, Miro Heiskanen and Jason Robertson, they're up in this series 2-1. They've also led for a grand total of 70 seconds. This was as close of a must-win game as it could get for the Avs after already losing 1 at home, and it was pure domination from them from the start. First, Logan O'Connor steals the puck, comes down on the B-way, and beats Jake Ottinger while shorthanded. They follow that up with the dog Nathan McKinnon doing what he does best, just a heat seeker from his office on the power play. It's 2-0, and the Avs were just able to inflict their speed all game long against the Stars. Dallas in the first 2 games did a great job at keeping the Avs speed in check in the neutral zone with solid back pressure and layers, but in Game 4, the Avs had their way. Just look at how Dwayne the Brock Nelson cuts through both layers of Dallas in the neutral zone and then feeds the captain, Gabriel Landeskog. That is his first goal in 1,041 days. What a shot and what a comeback. This guy decides to celebrate by chugging his beer, and these two decide to get intimate. There you go. How can you not be romantic about hockey? The Avs are fired up to have their captain back, and it shows. The Stars, they end up pulling Ottinger out of mercy. He had 31 saves after 2 periods. Colorado ends up tying the series, and Mackenzie Blackwood gets his first shutout of his NHL playoff career. What a statement for the Avs, but this one is officially now a best of 3. Let's check in on Minnesota and Vegas. This series has surprised most, with the Wild having a 2-1 lead, and a big component of their success has been pressuring Vegas into mistakes and Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov. Wild are looking to take a commanding lead, but Vegas is going to push back. Special teams going to kick us off here right away. Vegas, top 3 power play versus Wild's bottom 3 PK. Shea Theodore sets the tone, makes it 1-0 for the Golden Knights. In the first 2 periods, Vegas just wasn't giving Minnesota much, but they didn't need it. They scored 2 goals on their first 5 shots, and both goals come off the Wild's 1-2-2 forecheck. The F1s for the Wild on both the first and second goal were instrumental for pressing their Ds and forcing a turnover to create a goal. But again, special teams comes to the rescue for Vegas. Nicholas Waugh scores another power play goal that ties the game. Then here's some controversy. Take a look at Thomas Hertl. Him and Hartman off the draw. He's straight up going to wrap his arm around him and complete the spear, and there's no call. Mark Stone actually makes a sneaky, smart play, aims for the bushes, and banks it in. Wild fans are pissed. Hartman's wondering if Stripes needs a pair of glasses, and Vegas is up by 1 in the third. However, Minnesota gets back to work, and a big component of the Wild's offense is their defense's ability to step off the line and motion down low into the zone. So watch this play here by Captain Spurgeon. He gives it to his partner, and he activates right down towards the net. Puck bounces out, he hits the wraparound, and the Captain Spurgeon, the surgeon who fixes everything for the Wild, ties this game up to force overtime. Let's fast forward to 2 minutes left in OT. Jake Middleton, usually steady Freddy back there for the Wild. He goes for the high flip. It's a total muffin. That creates a panic at the disco. Huge scrum in front, and Ivan Barbashev becomes Johnny on the spot for the OT winner. Vegas ties the series at 2. They outshot Mini 46-32, but that ending stings for the Wild. Vegas looked far more comfortable controlling the pace in this game, and they held Kaprizov to check as he only had 1 assist. The series now shifts to Vegas for Game 5 as we're all even at 2. It's time to now go to Oil Country for Game 3 between Edmonton and LA. After 2 ugly ones, Edmonton's down 0-2 in this series, and the frustration's building. Biggest change coming into this one, Calvin Pickard is in between the pipes instead of Stuart Skinner. So, the Oilers set the tone right away. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins makes it 1-0, and then peak this power play goal. Special teams is one of the biggest reasons why the Oilers have been able to crush the Kings over the years. This year, the Kings are beating them in their own game, but the Oilers are going to draw up a bull rush play off the draw with Draisaitl. Off a clean win, he's going to drive directly through Anze Kopitar so that he can't flex out to the point. That's calculated interference right there. Bouchard now has all the time in the world to step in, and it's 2-0. Kopitar wants a penalty, but he ain't going to get it. We're starting to see that type of interference and play let go in these playoffs, as Vegas scored an identical goal to it against Minnesota back in Game 1. Then the Oilers' boogeyman has come to collect his rent. 4-on-4, which means everyone is in man coverage on the defensive side of the puck. But watch this slight miscommunication between McDavid and Nurse. As Kopitar drives, McDavid has to hand him off to Nurse and pick up the trailer and Kempe. Instead, he kind of gets caught in no man's land between cutting off the pass and staying on Kopitar, which leaves Kempe wide open for the goal. McDavid knows he made a mistake. He slams his stick in frustration, and what's even more frustrating is the Oilers still have no answer for the Kings' power play. In games 1 and 2, LA was leveraging the space behind the net to change sides and get Edmonton to collapse to create all kinds of space. In this game, though, it's the entries that kill them. Edmonton killers do a good job at pressuring to force the clear, but then this killer is going to go for a change, which leaves space for Edmonton to re-enter quickly with numbers, and it's another goal against. Same thing with the go-ahead power play goal. The Oilers can't stop the entry. It's way too easy, and 3 seconds later, it's in the back of their net. However, the Oilers are not going to go out without a fight. Downtown, Connor Brown potting another one. That guy is just money come playoff time. The elation for the Oilers lasts all but 9 seconds, because then the Kings come right down, and that is an ugly one. Trevor Moore, one-handed poke, 5-hole Pickard. Close your damn legs, son. Camera pans to McDavid, and he's just like, are you kidding me? But he feels like the Joker, having to do everything himself. But then in the third, the Kings and the coaching staff make a critical error. Evander Kane is going to poke one home in the crease, and after it's reviewed for a kick, it was deemed a good goal. But the Kings are going to challenge for goaltender interference, and personally, I didn't see anything that would warrant that call. Oilers tie the game and now have the power play, and it just takes 10 seconds. Draisaitl to Bouchard, that's the game winner. Oilers hang on and cut the series deficit to 2-1. Goaltending and defense need to be a lot better for Edmonton, but that controversial challenge could potentially swing the series. So for Game 4, the Oilers are feeling good. They're going to go back to what worked in Calvin Pickard. Now, LA, they won games 1 and 2 after scoring the first goal of the game. They do it again in Game 4, and they're actually in pretty good shape after Fiala puts them up 3-1 in the second. Yet it seems like no lead is truly safe from this Oilers team. Evan Bouchard gets a ton of flack for his defensive miscues, but offensively, this man is a gamer. First, he gets one to cut the lead, and then with the goalie pulled, there is no team more deadly 6-on-5 than the Edmonton Oilers. Draisaitl puts one on a platter for Evan Bouchard. He serves up a classic Bouch bomb to tie the game. The Kings are deflated. This Oilers team won't die, and they just can't get rid of them. In overtime as well, they just could not handle the pressure of the Oilers. They were relentless. They outshot them 17-7. Edmonton was buzzing everywhere, and then Gavrikov trips up McDavid to put the Oilers on the power play. Now, I remember when you literally had to commit murder to get a penalty in OT of the playoffs, but the standards have changed, and the Kings are in one. So, Oilers get cooking as usual, and off the rebound, Leon Draisaitl gets his first career playoff OT winner, and this series is all tied up. The LA Kings have squandered a 2-zip series lead, and the Oilers, in my opinion, are still yet to have played their best hockey. That is no bueno for the LA Kings as they're fighting their demons right now, but at least they get to go back home where they've been essentially unbeatable. They need an answer for the McDraisaitl combo, and if they don't get one soon, it could be the 4th straight year with the exact same result. Now let's move on to the Devils versus the Hurricanes. Game 3, the series swings back over to New Jersey, and the Devils, despite being in a hospital, missing both Hughes brothers and Brendan Dillon, have been quite competitive. Even though they're down 0-2 in the series, they're doing some things right. I said it in the preview, I said it in the last review, but if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, rule number 1 is you absolutely cannot let the Devils cook on the transition. New Jersey, from a tactics perspective, have to be able to use the aggressiveness of Carolina against them. This does require them to make at least 1 or 2 plays in their own end under immense pressure, and goal number 1 of Game 3, that's exactly what the Devils do. With the Devils defender Kovacevic with the puck, Carolina is going to send 2 forecheckers right at him and his partner. So Kovacevic needs to make a quick play on the pressure. That means he's going to rim it right around to the winger who's staying above the 3rd forward of Carolina on the forecheck. With 1 pass, 3 Hurricanes are stuck deep, and New Jersey has numbers on the transition. You fail rule number 1 and you get burnt. This was a common theme for New Jersey all night long. On goal number 2, a good defensive zone pressure is going to force a turnover just inside the blue line. But even though Carolina has numbers back, New Jersey's getting the puck to their fastest player in Jesper Bratt on the transition. He drives the net, good things happen, and the Devils are up by 2 in the 3rd period. But then the equalizer is on special teams. Carolina gets 2 power plays in the 3rd, and they bury on both of them to tie it. This one needs not 1 OT, but 2. And I'll tell you right now, Rod Brind'Amour is losing his shit in the film room after this OT goal. Again, in our last video breaking down Game 2, the Hurricanes made somewhat of a sloppy change in their own end, and it gave the Devils a numbers advantage to attack on the transition. In OT, the Devils are going to take full advantage of another line change. With 4 players doing a wholesale change on the bench, the Devils attack right away and isolate the lone defender holding the blue line to create a mini 2v1. The D has to respect the dish, so Nemec takes full advantage, cuts to the inside lane, and that line change is too damn slow. He steps in, and a squeaker finds a way through Freddie Anderson. Rule number 1, ladies and gentlemen. The Hurricanes don't follow it, and they drop Game 3. We officially have ourselves a series. So on to Game 4 we go, where the Hurricanes, they're not playing around. Less than a minute into the game, it's Mista Svechnikov leaving a tip on the doorstep. How nice of him. Shortly after, the professor, Jacob Slavin, gives us a lesson on trigonometry. Watch him read Nation like a book here. He knows he's chipping this puck all the way, and he bats it down like Jose Canseco, and then a little one-handed touch to himself for possession. We're not done there, though. Class is still in session. Markstrom gets in his RVH, but the professor, he knows his angles. Over the shoulder and the top shelf where you keep all the extra blankets, it's 2-0 Carolina. Mista Svechnikov also ends up double dipping on the power play to make it 3-0, and this one seems over. Yep, these are the playoffs, and things can change in a heartbeat. So Captain Nico Hischier, he gets the Devils one, and right after, Timo Meier drives the net right into the face of Freddie Anderson. Fredek's delivery is clearly shaken up. He has to leave the game. The refs initially give a 5-minute penalty so that they can review it, and they deem it clean. There's no penalty on the play. Canes fans are furious, and Meier becomes public enemy number 1. especially because he scores right after. Kochetkov, the Canes' backup, has to come in cold turkey, and Meyer is able to beat him with a floor cheese shot. There you go, another reminder to close your damn legs. Things get a little tight for Carolina being up by 1. However, it's the Devils' turn to let in a squeaker. Markstrom lets Burns' shot leak through, and that is the game. Svechnikov gets the empty netter for the Hattie, and Carolina takes a commanding 3-1 series lead. The status of Freddie Anderson remains up in the air for Game 5, but this is exactly where everyone expected Carolina to be. Now all they got to do is finish the job. Moving on to Montreal versus Washington for Game 3. The energy is palpable for this one. It's the first playoff game in Montreal since 2021. The Habs are down 2-0 in the series, and the Caps have taken it to them physically so far. So, Marty St. Louis brings in the big guns. Defenseman Arbor Jackeye steps back into the lineup, and right away he's drawing the attention in warm-ups. He and Tom Wilson meet at the red line slapshot style. They're having a friendly little chat, but that is just a sign for things to come. Now, Washington wants to take the soul right out of the Bell Center early, and they do it with a quick goal. Montembeault, juicy rebound, Roy goes in for seconds, and McMichael tips it in. It's 1-0 Cats, but you fast forward to the end of the first, and Montreal's going to keep it simple. New hook over to Carrier. He sifts one through with traffic, and it goes in. This game is tied at 1 into the second. Now, you need your special teams to step up, so the captain says, hop on, fellas. John Carlson's aiming for that Pizza Hut sponsorship. He coughs up the puck in Suzuki. The captain is all over that backhand Billy. The Habs take a 2-1 lead. You better saddle up, though, because we're just getting started. 2 minutes later, Chychrun steps in home alone like Kevin McAllister and rips a piss missile to tie it back up. The low to high play gets Demidov all confused in zone coverage. He finds himself on the wrong side of the ice, and the Caps take advantage. Then halfway through, everyone's heart in Montreal begins to sink. Goalie Sam Montembeault tweaks something, and Jakub Dobish has to step in. Montreal has to call in the emergency tendy just in case. It looks like this guy just finished his shift at Blockbuster, then threw on the pads. Palms are getting sweaty for Montreal. Now, one player who's been getting better and better as the series goes on is Lane Hudson. The stud rookie defenseman is getting acclimated to playoff hockey, and this game, his confidence and reads were sharp. Watch this. 9 seconds of the second, Caps look to break out to Ovi's wing. Hudson knows Ovi's going to cheat a tiny bit on the offensive side, so he steps right up, intercepts the play, and makes a one-touch pass straight to Caulfield. It's gorgeous, and the kids have a 3-2 lead heading into the third, but then tensions start to rise. A couple of chats go on after the buzzer. Both teams basically have everyone on the ice. That's interesting. And then all of a sudden, Josh Anderson and Tom Wilson are throwing down on the Capitals bench. This ref here is trying to break it up, but he's just on for the ride. They go all the way down the bench. Literally everyone on the ice grabs a guy. It's complete mayhem at the Bell Center. What the hell is going on? Who cares? Because it's playoff hockey. This right here is what it's all about. Tom Wilson afterwards giving his best Robert De Niro impression. He's actually telling Josh Anderson here to call the wambulance. This series just hit a whole other temperature, and we still got another period to go. So in the third, the Caps need one to tie it up, and on steps the greatest goal scorer of all time. Fresh off the bench, those 39-year-old tree trunks start chugging down the ice. He beats 2 Habs to the space, and he tees one home. Montreal says, anything you can do, I can do better. Dvorak scores to regain the lead. Back and forth affair. This is fun. We're all having fun, except the Caps fans. Caulfield and Suzuki get a give-and-go action for the 2-goal lead, but Dylan Strome goes right into Logan Thompson. He's shook, and now all of a sudden the Caps lose their starting goaltender. This series has completely flipped on its head, and the kids plant the very, very tiny seed of doubt in the Caps. Montreal wins the wildest game of the playoffs so far, 6-3, and are now down only 2-1 in the series. But let's see if some of that momentum translates into Game 4. So after both tendies get hurt and all the drama of Game 3, no one knows who the hell was starting. Turns out Montembeault for the Habs is confirmed out, while Logan Thompson is ready to go. Another man who's ready to go and is shot out of a cannon is the Russian machine. The captain, Ovi, goes for blood on Carrier and just misses to go flying into the Habs bench. Now, it's in these moments where we start to see the youth of the Habs under pressure. Watch Lane Hudson try to make a high-risk play into the middle here, and that's going to spring a semi-breakaway. Then, it's maybe the slowest moving car crash I've ever seen towards Dobish. He wants to play the puck. He gets caught in no man's land, doesn't make a decision quick enough, and Mangiapane gets a poke in right before everything goes to shit, and Strome buries the opening goal. When it rains, it pours. Things could get really ugly as the Caps get a 5-on-3 power play, but it is balls of steel from the Habs. You got Savard blocking Ovi shots. The kill leaves it all out there to keep the puck out, and then the momentum swings. It's the Habs who get back-to-back power plays, and the kids take over. First, Slavkovsky from Demidov, and then right after, it's Caulfield from Hudson. The power play is electric. The Bell Center is on fire, and going into the third, the Caps needed an answer. So Carrier, 6 minutes in, comes to play the puck in the neutral zone. He saw Ovi coming. He does not see Tom Wilson coming. He flies in like a freight train and catches him clean. Heavy and monster hit, sends Carrier to the shadow realm, and seconds later, the Caps come down and score. That hit completely changed the tide of the game, and Washington takes advantage. Mangiapane means eat bread in Italian and game winner in English. He beats Dobish clean, and Tom Wilson, along with the Caps, get the last laugh, taking Game 4 to now have a 3-1 series lead. Afterwards, Dobish said that the hit should have been whistled down because it was scary, but the rules apparently don't apply to everyone. And I'm sure after hearing that, Tom Wilson could be found somewhere telling them to call the ambulance. The Habs youth has been prominent at times during this series, and overcoming a 3-1 deficit may seem like a long shot. However, anything can happen. But right now, the physicality that the Caps are bringing to the table just seems like it's overwhelming this Montreal team. It's time to dive into the shenanigans. That is the Battle of the Sunshine State. Florida versus Tampa. This one's pretty much a must-win for the Lightning. They're the highest scoring team in the league, and they only managed just 2 goals in the first 2 games of this series and are down 0-2. Also, we're just getting started with the fun stuff. After Brandon Hagel smoked Panthers captain Alexander Barkov, he earned himself a 1-game suspension. When they asked the Panthers head coach Paul Maurice about it, he said, well, we only hit guys that have the puck. Book that quote for later. I promise it's going to come in handy. Now, Florida's success is through their aggressiveness. It's how they smothered Tampa in games 1 and 2. But you can only hold Kucherov off the board for so long, especially because he thrives under making plays off the wall and sucking in coverages. Watch here as Barkov is going to pressure Kucherov on his backhand. But Kucherov, he's a wizard. He's going to use an inside cut, make a miss, and now to prevent him from stepping in uncontested, Verhaeghe has to pressure. That pressure is going to free up Jake Gensel, and even when Gensel gets the puck, he's met with pressure instantly. That's when the individual skill takes over and it creates a goal. But even when it's not Tampa's superstars, they want to invite that pressure and have support nearby to take advantage. It does require a ton of poise and skill, but Tampa has the weapons to pull it off. They execute this formula for Game 3 perfectly, and as they're about to seal the deal with an empty netter, boom, Matthew Tkachuk crushes Jake Gensel after the play. Look at this. Gensel saying, oh, that's a pretty pass, and boom, interference late, but the Panthers and Tkachuk get their payback on the hit for Barkov. Tkachuk is given a 5 minutes, same as Hagel, and tells Gensel to keep his head up. Tampa fans are thinking, why the hell shouldn't that be a suspension? But after the game, John Cooper was asked about the hit, and he responded, the only players we hit are the ones with the puck. Cheeky clap back from Coop. The mind games are on, and this one is just getting started. We now move on to the Battle of Ontario. Bring your brooms, Toronto, because there's a potential sweep at stake. Meanwhile, the Sens believe that they're right there despite the series being 3-0 for Toronto. One bounce either way, though, and they could be up 2-1 in this series, but that ain't the case. Now, in all 3 games, the Sens have lost the special teams battle, but they hit the film room. First, they kick it off with a power play goal from Jimmy Stu. 1T beats Stolars, and the Sens are on the board first. Then Toronto's going to get a chance to tie it up on the power play, and finally, we see the Sens penalty kill get after it. They have been far too passive against Toronto's power play, and it's given their best guys so much time to make a play. In this game, Ottawa wasn't going to let that be the case. Now, whenever there's a bobbled puck on the wall or the puck carrier has their back to the middle, that is your cue as a penalty killer to get aggressive. The Sens do just that with Nylander. It creates a board battle, and Shane Pinto springs himself on a breakaway, and it goes in for the shorty. That's his Pinto parlay special for the night, and the Sens take a 2-goal lead. This is when the roller coaster starts. Tavares, he left the island. Don't forget that. He gets one before the end of the period, and then in the second, Matthew Knies becomes a dog. Chips it by the D, turns on the Jets, backhand forehand, Roof Daddio Jr. tied game. That's when the Sens punch back with a cheeky backdoor goal of their own from David Perron, and then the Leafs are going to respond late in the third, as this one is going to go back to a third straight overtime. Both fan bases are sweating their balls off. The Sens season is on the line, and Drake Batherson is going to take a high-sticking penalty right on Chris Tanev schnoz. He's leaking, which means it's a 4-minute power play. Now, just before this moment, John Tavares ate a shoulder to the face from Artem Zub and would miss being out there for this power play. And even though the Leafs had their chances, the Sens penalty kill had a baller night. They bend but don't break to kill it off, and every Leaf fan knew that right there was the game. Jake Sanderson in the late stages of OT, little sifter from the point, beat Stolarz clean, and Ottawa has life. Brady Tkachuk was seen afterwards firing up the crowd saying, "We're coming back to the Canadian Tire Center for Game 6, and Leaf fans, well, they're a bit queasy looking at that. The parade isn't quite canceled just yet, but it ain't over until it's over, and Leaf fans know that better than anyone. As for the Sens, all they got to do is take it one game at a time and go from there. So, what do you think of all the series so far? Who surprised you? Who pissed you off? I know some of you are ticked off about the officiating. Yeah, let me hear it in the comments down below. And as always, if you want to stay up to date on the best breakdowns and recaps of the NHL playoffs, make sure you watch our last video on screen here, click subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a thing.